Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I believe I am live. I was having a bit of a technical problem, so sorry I'm a few minutes late here. Today is Monday, and on Mondays we do Milky Mama Monday training live here in the group. My name is Jessie Slutton, and I am a postpartum empowerment coach. And I help moms exchange surviving for thriving through holistic recovery plans focused on healing, nourishing, and bonding in the postpartum timeframe. And one of my specialties is I am a certified lactation counselor, so I am very passionate about supporting parents on their lactation journeys and their infant feeding journeys and goals. And one of those important things for me in that realm is to provide evidence-based information. And so on Mondays, I take the opportunity to educate and answer some of the more prominent questions that I receive about lactation, breastfeeding, chest feeding, all the things, even some formula feeding questions, so that you can have information that you can trust, that is based in evidence, and that is up to date. So that's what we do every Monday. And tonight's topic is a pretty interesting one. I'm sure we have all heard the adage of, the age-old, I don't even know where this came from, but the saying of food before one is just for fun, right? How many of you have heard this before? Put me in the comments if this is something that you have heard. While I believe that where this came from was probably from a good place where perhaps, and when this is said to you or you've heard the saying before, it might have been, in order to help take some of the pressure, the anxieties off of introducing solids to your little one. This can be a sometimes stressful experience, especially depending on each child and how they react to adding new foods and all of those types of things. And so I think that it came from a place of trying to help reduce some of those anxieties for parents. However, this is a myth, okay? So food before one is not just for fun, and we're going to cover why that is tonight, and why it is important that you do introduce solids to your baby when they meet certain criteria, of course, and under the guidance of your pediatrician, but why it's so important, okay? And there's a lot of reasons, but I'm going to dive into the top 3 reasons why early introduction to solid foods before the age of 1 is so crucial, okay? And those 3 things that I will be covering tonight are the nutrition deficiency risks. 2 is the developmental and sensory needs that this addresses. And 3, early allergen exposure. Okay, so those are the 3 topics I'm going to be covering tonight. And I am also going to include some very good resources and links in the comments for you to see kind of where I'm getting this information and how you can go about educating yourself further on this topic if it's something that you are interested in learning. So I will drop those links after I upload the video as well. So if you have any questions along the way and you join live, please feel free to ask those. And if not, if you're catching the replay, let me know and I can circle back around and try to find some answers for you as well if you have questions after this training. And just a quick plug here as well. I mentioned that I am a certified lactation counselor and I do offer virtual lactation support for consultations and all of the things. So if it's something that you are needing further support on to create maybe a weaning plan, create a introduction to solids plan, and how that fits into your breastfeeding journey, please feel free to schedule some time with me and we can work together more one-on-one on a specific plan for you. I also offer one-on-one coaching where this is an in-depth advantage of being able to work with me is I am with you the whole spectrum of your lactation journey, from planning for it in pregnancy all the way for getting you ready for the weaning process or getting back to work, introducing a pumping schedule, all of those kind of things. It is one of the many benefits of working with me in my one-on-one program. And it also includes your nutrition and healing, your self-care plans, and all of those things that put your healing, your well-being at the center of your postpartum experience as well. So now that we covered all that, let's dive into tonight's topic. So the 3 that I outlined, the number 1 thing that I mentioned and why this is so crucial is avoiding nutrition deficiencies in your little ones. Okay, I am going to say we all have probably heard and know that breast milk or formula should be the main source of nutrition for your little one until the age of 1. Okay, I am not arguing that very important factor. It should still be the number 1 way that your baby is getting the calories and the nutrition they need before the age of 1. Okay, however, it's very important that you do start introducing solids, especially foods that are higher in iron and zinc, because at the age between 4 months and 6 months, our baby's kind of iron tank, I like to call it, starts to deplete. And where they get their iron stores as infants prior to this was actually in the womb, which is very fascinating. The placental blood actually provides all the iron your baby needs through about the age of 4 to 6 months, okay? After that, their iron levels start to wane, and they actually need to have iron coming back into their diets so that they can replenish those stores and they can avoid becoming anemic. Anemia is one of the biggest issues that we see in babies, especially in breastfed babies when they're younger, after the age of 6 months, because of this reason, okay? So nutrition deficiency risks go up high if we are not introducing solid foods before the age of 1. And I also mentioned zinc is also a really important one, which often is paired with the iron-rich foods when it comes to introducing your solids. So one of the best things that you can introduce early on is ground meat, those kind of things, for your little one to help get those iron stores and the zinc stores that they need and replenish those stores in their little bodies, okay? Some other important vitamins too and nutrients to consider when it comes to feeding your baby things other than breast milk and formula is vitamin D is very important. Vitamin D supplementation and iron supplementation for that matter can also be helpful and beneficial for your babies, but the best and most bioavailable source is going to be from food, okay? So that's really important too, the vitamin D, and as well as things like B12, a bunch of different things. They're going to get that much more replenishment and exposure to these kinds of key nutrients the earlier that they are introduced. Now I do want to mention it's very important that before you start introducing these foods that your baby is meeting the milestones that are required to ensure that they are ready. Sometimes you hear this as signs of readiness when you can have that discussion with your pediatrician, and I will provide a link in the comments to the AAP's website that outlines those milestones that are really important that your baby is meeting before you introduce this and start on this food journey. All right, so number 2 that I'm going to cover tonight, developmental and sensory needs. So another important reason why introducing food before 1 year old is so crucial is because your baby is going to get so much exposure to different sensory needs and to practice important developmental milestones that that are so natural when it comes to learning to feed themselves. Okay, so they can practice their pincher grasp a lot more. They can practice being able to hold a utensil, even if they're not, hitting the mark every single time, right? It's going to take some practice. And the more practice they get, the more they're going to be able to hone those skills and to be able to meet those developmental milestones. So that's super, super important as well. Some interesting research I wanted to share with you around the sensory side of things is research actually suggests that babies who don't get to practice with foods of different textures, they by 9 months of age actually statistically are more likely to have feeding issues in elementary school. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. If they aren't exposed before 9 months of age, they might have feeding issues. So a lot of those texture problems or prolonged gagging issues, gagging reflex, that is a totally normal reflex, and it's actually very protective for babies. But sometimes if food issues develop, that can be a really overactive reflex that gets carried over and can kind of be a more emotional response sometimes too in older children. So that was really something interesting I wanted to share with you as well, as far as the importance of getting that sensory input and that sensory exposure through mealtime. Also, another really important thing too is they start to learn social cues when they are eating. So it's very important that when you are introducing solids to your baby, take the opportunity to have a little bit of a snack that you are also consuming. This models appropriate eating behavior for your baby, and they also can kind of understand that mealtime is a social experience. Okay, so that's another important developmental milestone and understanding that they can start practicing during meal times with you. There's so much more that goes into this, but I just wanted to briefly touch on each of these 3 topics. But like I said, I'll provide some more reading material for you in the comments as well, if this is something you are getting close to starting, or if you're doing some research and getting ready for that with your little ones. Another important thing, before I move on to number 3, I just saw my note, is it's important to also introduce kiddos to solid foods before 1, because they also get to kind of embrace their biological drive and interest in food. Okay, it is so natural for young babies, even as young as 4 months or older, to start really like honing in with their little eyeballs on you as you start to eat, a snack. If you ever noticed that, or you're holding your little one and you're eating and they're just like a little baby bird, opening their mouth. And that's one of those signs of readiness, is they're wanting a taste too, right? And so being able to have them understand that that is, a biologically driven response, and that you're encouraging that interest is really important too. All right, and then the third and final thing I wanted to cover tonight about why it is so crucial for you to not wait until 1 to expose your kiddos to food is because of allergen exposure. So this, for a very long time, it was believed that we should hold back, especially in introducing allergen type foods, nuts, fish, crustaceans, those kind of things that can cause allergic reactions. And the thought was because we didn't want to, have that happen in children at a very young age. The research is actually showing quite the opposite now that we understand things a little bit more. And it's actually showing that the earlier a child is introduced to these allergens, they actually have a reduced risk of developing an allergy to them later on in life. So they're really recommending that babies from 4 to 6 months have that exposure, so that they can have the best chance of hopefully not having such severe reactions to these allergy-inducing foods. So those were the 3 top reasons why food before 1 is not just for fun. Okay, so we covered that there is an increase in nutrition deficiency risks if you wait until 1 year old to introduce babies to solid food. We talked about it being crucial for their sensory and developmental milestone needs, and we also covered the fact that early exposure can reduce allergen risk. So those were the 3 things I wanted to cover with you all tonight as far as that myth that just needs to go away about food before 1 not being just for fun, okay? And as I mentioned before, if you need some more support when it comes to your feeding journey, for your littles and for yourself, please schedule some time with me. I will drop my link below for that free 30-minute strategy session where we can talk about where you are in your lactation journey, where you are in your motherhood journey, where you are struggling specifically, and how my services may be the perfect missing puzzle piece in your perinatal journey puzzle to get you into the right mindset, into the right physical needs being met, nourishment, all the things that I work on with my clients, and getting you back on track, and so that you can not feel like you are just getting through the day, every day, barely surviving. I want you to feel good and feel like you are replenished and like you are thriving in your motherhood. So schedule some time with me if that's something you're interested in, and I will see you all live in the group again on Friday. I sent out the invites for all of them for this coming new month. I can't believe it's going to be September. I changed the time based on some feedback I got from our poll about what time would work best for Free Coaching Fridays. So that will now be 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I will be coming live in the group to answer your specific postpartum questions or things that you're struggling with. It is an opportunity for you to come and get those things answered. So please join me live on Friday. I'd love to hear from you all. You can always DM me as well if you can't make it live, and I will be sure to cover your topic on the call. Otherwise, I will see you all around in the group. Have a great rest of your week.